What's going on, people? So, I just did my Yeezy Day pickup video. Like, if I upload these in the order that I shot them, it will have been the last video that I uploaded, right? So if you want to go back and see whatever else I picked up that day, you have that option. If you just want to watch this video and see how I feel about these, you have that option too. Do whatever you want. Now, according to the side of the box, right? That's what's going on over there. What does that say? It says tail light, basically. So, as you saw, this is the tail light 350, right? I got these through the Yeezy Day thing. They came as a win through the Confirmed app, which is cool, because otherwise I never would have got them since they were in, I think it was a Europe release, if I remember correctly. And I'm not paying all that extra money to get them because I'm cheap, right? Getting me to pay the $220 for these as is, that's not really okay with that, honestly. But I do it because it's like, it is retail, right? So I'll do that, and I'll just take my wins when I get a bunch of other stuff for under retail. It all balances out in the end. But over that, no, you can have that. So let's go ahead and talk about these right here. Again, this is the Adidas Yeezy Boost 350 V2 in the tail light colorway. Not too shabby. So, but let's go ahead and start this thing with the bottom. So down there, what you're looking at, if you've ever seen a 350, yeah, it looks like exactly like all the other ones. Basically just with slightly different colors. This time, some kind of a dark grayish, I don't know what you want to call that. But you still got a little boost peeking through at the bottom end. So there's that for you. Moving back up here to the midsole, right? Now this midsole is pretty much like a standard weird sort of light grayish type of color. You can see the boost in there. And then at the very back you do have a slight discoloration because that's what they do with some of the 350s, right? If you've seen pairs before, you know that it's kind of a common thing. Not on all of them, but on most of them. So there's that for you. Now that we've got that out of the way, we can go ahead and we can talk about this here upper, see what we see, right? So, looking at it all around, first off, you're just going to notice it's very plain, so you probably don't need the breakdown, but, you know, it's Sunday afternoon, or Sunday morning, I got nothing to do, so I'm going to give you the breakdown anyway. Now, going into this, right, looking real close in here, this is all just going to be your standard prime knit material, right? And much like a lot of the other 350s of recent times, as you look through it, starting down here with the toe box, you can see a little bit of like the different stitching patterns and whatnot that kind of gets sprinkled in through here on the left side and the right side. They aren't like identical or whatever. So that's kind of a cool little touch, you know? And then I'm not going to get too deep into how these all look like when I do my like Ultra Boost DNA videos or whatever. Just know that it's different. And then in the middle-ish area, as they often do, they have this little strip going on down the side, right? Sometimes that's a little more stiff, sometimes it's a little softer. This feels like it's a little more on the stiffer end, at least for down here at the front, for sure. So there's that for you, right? And it's kind of like got that little see-through, transparent sort of vibe going on. And then as you get to the back, you do have the siding area with some orange, which you can also see from the inside as well, but we'll get into that later if I remember. And then switching around to the very back, what you have going on back there, kind of playing off of that siding, is this pull tab, which is a thing you don't see on a lot of 350s anymore. I don't know why, but they just don't. So this one does have that. Now, past that, while we're back there though, one thing, you do also have this little knitted piece down the middle where it kind of looks like they took two shoes and sewn them together. So you've got that, which matches up with what you have on the front, gives you that same sort of vibe. Not everybody's a huge fan of it, and I totally get it, but it is there. It's just a thing that I've come to accept, though on some it doesn't look so bad. It's a little more laid down and flat. So different Yeezys look different ways. If that's not a selling point for you on this, if it's a deal breaker or whatever, look at other pairs and kind of look closely at them, because that may not be the case on other ones, and you know, you can make that decision for yourself later. But anyways, moving on, I think we've covered most of the stuff about the actual shoe. By now you've probably seen a picture or two that kind of gets the whole point across. So let's just jump back on over here to the laces and get things wrapped up. So the one thing that I do like about the laces on here is that they're just nice quality, you know. I kind of like this like thick rope style thing that they do. Sometimes they're 3M, sometimes they're not. This is more on the not side, right, as you can tell. And it's also before they were doing that whole infinity lacing system. So if you do want to take these out, you've got that option and you don't have to ruin anything to do it. And the color wise, it's kind of like a grayish silver sort of vibe going on. Matches up with a little bit of what you see at the very top of the midsole, because then on the bottom end you kind of see the boost, so it kind of throws the coloring off. Anyways, you got that, and that's about it, right? Now, jumping on to the inside. For one, on the insole, you have the Adidas Yeezy down there. That's going to be in orange text on that silverish gray background, or insole, I should say. Nothing fancy about it whatsoever. At the back end, you have those 3 stripes, and those are reflective, so that's always a nice touch. And then around the siding, you do have those little pillowy type things that are very comfortable, so I do like that. And then on this side, as I was saying, you can see that orange piece that you slightly can see from the outside. I mean, you can see it from the outside, but you can slightly see it on the inside because there's, the length difference. So there is that. Past that, I think that is everything about the actual shoe. I feel like I went through it fairly quickly, but again, maybe it's just because I've talked about these a lot, so I can just breeze through them, or maybe it's because there's not a lot to talk about. Either way, one thing that there is left to talk about is, well, one of the things is my personal thoughts, So let's knock that out. Now, as I was saying before, this was a European release, right? And I saw the prices and they weren't terrible, but they were still over $220, so that's why it didn't happen. Now, looking at these up close, in hand, and all that stuff, would it have been worth it to pay that extra price? No, it would not, because they're very plain. They look good, don't get me wrong. It's a fine look in my personal opinion, but just the overall plainness of it, I would not go over retail for these, right? And there's like 1,350s out there to choose from. If you miss a release, just wait for the next one. Then maybe you can just trade for the one you want or something, since they seem to lately be going for around the same price, right? Anyways, so personal opinion though, like I do like the way it came off, even though I'm not really gonna suggest people run out and buy it. It's just I like this gray type of color that they use here with that little bit of orange on the back and on the side. It's just a good combination, Sometimes I would say, oh, I wish they did 3M for the stripe, because I know they've done that on like the linens and things. But on here, I think it would have been a little much. I don't think it would have been a good idea. So I'm kind of glad that they didn't go that route this time. You can tell me whatever you think down below if you'd like to. But all in all, like, I'm glad I was able to get these for the price that I wanted to pay, because it is one of the more liked Yeezys that I've seen in the last however long it's been since they came out. But I don't know, man. If you're not into the Yeezys at all, like, I'm not going to try to sell you on them, right? I'm just speaking for how I feel about these. So take my personal opinion. It's just how I feel. Don't let it sway you. If you don't like them, or if you do like them, keep that intact, right? Normally, the bulk of these videos are just to give you some stuff to think about, right? In case you're curious about certain aspects of it. Also, before we go getting into the sizing and all that stuff, sometimes I get curious. These down here, looking at the side, these were made in May of 2021. So if you're ever curious about the manufacturer dates and restocks or whatever, yeah, this was just a batch that they made recently. So it's not like a bunch they had from whenever the original release was sitting around. They actually went out of their way to make some new ones. So that's pretty cool, right? Now, we've got that out of the way. Let's go ahead and talk about some sizing, some comfort and stuff. This right here, to me, is a true to size fit. Not everybody agrees with that, but hey, this is all opinion based, so that's my opinion. Now, I say that because even though they can be a little snug at times, they tend to stretch out just enough for me, right? So I've got no problem doing the true to size thing, because I actually wear my Yeezys. Not a whole lot, because I do have a lot of them, but enough to kind of make them fit and feel how I like them to feel. Not that they're bad out of the box, I got no problem with them. They just get a little bit better. That's how that works. Now, with that whole prime knit upper, along with the whole stretching out thing and kind of conforming to your foot in some way, not like a foam, but just because it's like a sock, that sort of style is also going to make it extra breathable and extra light. So These also make good summer shoes. You know, if you find the right color, it'll kind of match up with like the whole summer vibe or whatever. But it is something that if you're going to be out for a while and you want something where your feet are going to be able to breathe and not feel trapped in some enclosure, this is definitely a good choice, right? There are other choices that are just as good if you're looking for comfort, but if you're wondering if this will work out for you, it will. Now, going back to that comfort piece where I said there's a lot of other things that will work out better, that's because the midsole comfort on here, while pretty solid, well, I shouldn't say solid because that doesn't describe it. It's very good, right? It's a little squishy though, right? And not everybody's into that. So when I look at these, I'm cool with it, right? But some people aren't. So I highly suggest that you try maybe one of the earlier Ultra Boosts, right? Because those were a little squishy as well, and see how you feel about that. If you like something that's a little more stable under your foot or whatever, this may not be for you. So it's definitely worth trying just to kind of get your mind around that. If you don't care, if you just are living in 2017 and you think it's just cool to have Yeezys, so you just want to buy Yeezys, don't worry about all this stuff I'm saying. Just go buy your pair and call it a day. But for anybody out there who is wondering, should I buy these strictly for the comfort? You should not. I think that is as plain as I can say that. They are comfortable. Yes, I'm not going to argue against that. But when you've got like React Visions or you've got some Prestos even out there, there's a lot of the other Boost shoes. You can go buy yourself a pair of Ultra Boosts. They're always on clearance. You can buy a lot of other things that will get you comfort for a lot lower of a price. So take that, do whatever you want to do with it. Remember it, disregard it. I honestly don't care. I just need to talk a little bit at a time so I can stretch this out long enough to do an on foot. That's kind of how this whole thing works. Now, that's all out of the way. I talked about my personal thoughts and all that crap or whatever else. So we can go ahead and wrap this video up. From me to you, have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night, whatever it is, wherever you are. I have recorded all the reviews I need to do. I just got to knock out 2 on feet and then do a bunch of editing and take a few pictures. Well, not in that order because I can't edit if I don't have the pictures. It just works that way. Anyways, later people.